June 6, 1944 begins in darkness. At 2:37 a.m., high above the cold black water of the English Channel, a C-47 Skytrain trembles as bursts of German anti-aircraft fire rip through the sky. The aircraft shudders violently, aluminum skin rattling as tracer rounds streak past the fuselage. Inside, packed shoulder to shoulder with men and gear, a young American paratrooper from the 58th Parachute Infantry Regiment steadies his breathing. He lowers his gaze to the weapon slung across his chest and performs one final check. The rifle feels heavy but reassuring. Just over 9 pounds of steel and walnut. 8 cartridges sit locked inside its clip. It fires every time the trigger is pulled, without pause, without the need to manually cycle a bolt. By the end of the war, this rifle will cost the U.S. government just $31 to produce. Within a few short hours, that same rifle will determine whether its carrier survives his first violent encounter with German troops on French soil. His opponents will be armed primarily with bolt-action rifles. Accurate and powerful but slow. After each shot, they must lift, pull, push, and lock their bolts before firing again. He will not. He will be able to send round after round downrange as quickly as he can align his sights. In a chaotic hedgerow skirmish where seconds mean everything, 8 rapid shots delivered without interruption can overwhelm 5 slower ones. That mechanical advantage, speed married to reliability, will decide who walks away from the fields of Normandy and who does not. That modestly priced rifle is about to permanently alter the arithmetic of infantry combat. It represents something unprecedented. The first time in history a major power equips its entire infantry force with semi-automatic rifles as standard issue. It is the firearm General George S. Patton would later describe as the finest battlefield implement ever conceived. A weapon that originally cost $83 per unit in 1942. Yet by 1945 could be produced for nearly 1/3 that amount. And what history rarely emphasizes is this. Almost 9 decades after its introduction, this rifle remains in official U.S. military service. It is still carried ceremonially, still fired, still polished and maintained, still wearing the uniform. This is the M1 Garand. The rifle that outlived every American service weapon before or after it. To understand how that happened, the story must rewind to another war. In 1917, American soldiers crouch in muddy trenches along the Western Front in France. These doughboys grip their M1903 Springfield rifles, manually working the bolt after each discharge. 5 rounds loaded. Bolt lifted. Bolt drawn back. Bolt pushed forward. Locked. Fire again. The same mechanical rhythm soldiers had relied on since the late 19th century. When the First World War finally ends, U.S. Army planners begin reviewing battlefield data, and the conclusions unsettle them. A well-trained infantryman using a bolt-action rifle can manage perhaps 15 carefully aimed shots per minute. A soldier equipped with a semi-automatic weapon could potentially fire 40 or more in the same time span. The implications are alarming. The War Department recognizes a dangerous truth. In the next major conflict, whichever nation successfully fields reliable semi-automatic rifles first will hold a decisive advantage. But there is a serious obstacle. Early semi-automatic designs are complicated, fragile, and expensive. The same forces that allow a rifle to cycle itself, gas pressure, and recoil energy, also introduce failure points. Mud, dust, freezing temperatures, tropical humidity. Any of these could transform a complex mechanism into dead weight. The Army does not merely need innovation. It needs a miracle. A rifle that fires automatically, survives extreme environments, tolerates abuse, and can be manufactured by the millions. That rifle does not yet exist. Enter John Garand. Born in Quebec in 1888, Garand immigrates to the United States as a child, settling in Connecticut. He never attends a formal engineering school. Instead, he learns through hands-on labor, mastering machining work in textile factories. He is a self-taught problem solver, the kind of man who visualizes mechanical motion instinctively. In 1919, Springfield Armory hires him as a consulting engineer. His mission is deceptively simple: design a semi-automatic rifle capable of replacing the bolt-action Springfield. What he receives instead is minimal funding, limited assistance, and nearly impossible expectations. For 17 years, Garand experiments relentlessly. Prototype after prototype fails. Designs are rejected. Committees criticize, revise, and discard his work. Entire mechanisms are scrapped and rebuilt from scratch. Years pass. Wars loom. Pressure mounts. And then, on August 3, 1933, the breakthrough finally arrives. The U.S. Army formally classifies Garand's latest design as rifle, semi-automatic, caliber .30, M1. At first glance, it appears flawed. It is heavier than the rifle it is meant to replace. It feeds from an 8-round end-block clip rather than a detachable magazine. When empty, that clip ejects upward with a sharp metallic sound critics claim could give away a soldier's position. Internally, the rifle contains more than 60 individual components. Manufacturing experts warn it is too intricate to mass-produce efficiently. Some engineers at Springfield openly doubt whether it can ever be built in sufficient numbers for wartime demand. What they fail to grasp is that Garand has done something extraordinary. He has not only designed a weapon, he has engineered an entire production philosophy around it. He understands how it must be machined, assembled, and standardized long before full-scale manufacturing begins. In 1936, the Army officially adopts the M1. Within 4 years, the Marine Corps and Navy follow. The United States becomes the only nation preparing to send its infantry into modern war armed entirely with semi-automatic rifles. Then reality intrudes. Cost. In 1942, producing a single M1 Garand costs the government $83. That is nearly double the price of a traditional bolt-action rifle. Multiply that by millions of soldiers, and the numbers become staggering. But American industry possesses a weapon as powerful as any rifle: optimization. Engineers refine machining processes, reduce wasted motion, standardize components, and accelerate assembly lines. Every year, production becomes faster, leaner, cheaper. By 1945, the cost per rifle collapses to just $31, affordable enough to arm an entire military. The $31 rifle is ready. Still, adoption is not without resistance. Many experienced officers distrust the M1. Veteran non-commissioned officers argue that semi-automatic fire will encourage wasteful shooting. Traditionalists insist that bolt-action rifles instill discipline and marksmanship fundamentals. Some actively lobby to retain the old Springfield as standard issue. The M1 is more than a new firearm. It is a philosophical shift that threatens long-held beliefs about how wars are fought. Then December 7, 1941 arrives. The attack on Pearl Harbor transforms hesitation into urgency. Springfield Armory switches to full wartime production. Output surges from hundreds of rifles per day to thousands. By 1944, nearly 4,000 Garands roll off the line every single day and night, without pause. Winchester Repeating Arms joins production, adding hundreds of thousands more. By the war's end, more than 4 million M1 Garands have been manufactured, making it the most widely produced American combat rifle of its era. But factories do not win battles. Soldiers do. On D-Day, paratrooper Obi Hill jumps into France before dawn. His parachute drops him into darkness. His rifle lands in water. It does not fail. He fights across Normandy, is wounded, evacuated, and later returns to combat during the Battle of the Bulge. When offered lighter alternatives, the M1 carbine or a Thompson submachine gun, Hill refuses. He keeps his Garand. He trusts it. He maintains it obsessively, even in freezing forests. It never lets him down. Across the hedgerows of Normandy, American infantry quickly learn the value of their rifles. German soldiers carry the Karabiner 98K, accurate, powerful, but slow. In close-range ambushes lasting only moments, the ability to fire 8 rounds without interruption proves decisive. Many officers abandon lighter weapons in favor of the Garand's stopping power. The .30-06 cartridge smashes through cover, masonry, and brush. The rifle becomes more than equipment. It becomes an advantage. In the Pacific, from Guadalcanal to Iwo Jima to Okinawa, the M1 proves itself again. Against Japanese bolt-action rifles, American troops deliver sustained fire in jungles thick with humidity and decay. The Garand resists rust, functions in sand and mud, and absorbs punishment that would cripple lesser designs. George Patton's praise is blunt and sincere. The greatest battle implement ever created. By the numbers, the story is astonishing. Over 4 million Garands produced during World War II alone, enough to equip the entire U.S. Army multiple times over. And when war erupts again in Korea, the rifle returns. Production resumes. New manufacturers join in. Another 1.5 million rifles enter service. Officially replaced in 1957, the Garand refuses to disappear. It appears in Vietnam, in Allied hands, in advisory roles. It marches in ceremonies. It drills in silence. Today, nearly 90 years after adoption, it is still carried by honor guards and drill teams. It remains a symbol of discipline, durability, and design excellence. Abroad, it continues to surface in conflicts decades after its debut. The $31 rifle still echoes. John Garand never profits from his creation. He gives his design to the government freely. Congress attempts to reward him. The effort fails. He dies quietly in Springfield in 1974. But his legacy continues to march, fire, and endure. The M1 Garand is not merely a rifle. It is proof that thoughtful engineering, industrial discipline, and persistence can shape history. It is the weapon that refused to retire.